Page Kuf Samach, opposite of page 318. When we started Igeres HaKodesh, I started Kuntres and I told you there are 9 parts to Kuntres, 9 sections. The first 5 are heavily Kabbalistic, and then we get back to regular programming. We are back to regular programming. This is a piece that Alter Rebbe writes on Chassidus, a Geschmack piece. David Zmires Kodesh Luhu Chulu. So the Gemara says, we know that there's a pasuk in Tehillim, Kapitel Kuf Yates, where David says, Miris hayuli chukacha beveis migurei. So David refers to Torah as miris, as songs. I want to check, is it good? You already looked at it? Yeah.
Oh, what?
Nothing. Everything's good. Other than the fact that Sasson doesn't hear, everything's good. He's in Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah. For 2 weeks.
Yeah. So there's a story behind this David's Midas, behind this Midas Kodesh Luhu. That is, it's a little background, a little history over here. That we know that when the Yidden went to Eretz Yisrael, so first they put up the Mishkan in Gilgal for 14 years, and then the Mishkan was in Shiloh for 369 years. And that was during the times of Eli. During the times of Eli, the Yidden went to battle against the Plishtim, and they took the Acharon with them. Now we know that they took the Acharon with them, but a different Acharon. When the Yidden went to battle, they took the Acharon with the Shivrei HaLuchos, with the broken Luchos. But this time they took the real Acharon. Not that the other Acharon wasn't real, but they took the Acharon with the actual Luchos, and they lost the battle. And to add catastrophe upon catastrophe, the Acharon was taken in captivity, was taken hostage to Gaza.
Oh, similar.
So they steht nach. This is and the people, the Plishtim, they're all excited. They have the Acharon, but their excitement didn't last very long. They soon realized that this wasn't very good for them. First, they put it in their church, and every morning they woke up and their getchka, their idol, was disfigured, horribly disfigured in different ways. And then there was a plague, and people started dying, and they realized this is not a good idea. So they sent back the Acharon to the Yidden, and it comes in a city called Kiryas Yearim, and they put it in a wagon pulled by some oxen. And for the next few decades, the Acharon remains in Kiryas Yearim, the Acharon with the Luchos. Because at the same time, during that same battle, the Mishkan in Shiloh was destroyed. That was the end of an era. Eli dies, and his sons were killed in battle. And the Mishkan was destroyed. The Mishkan was rebuilt afterwards in Noiv and in Givon, I think for a total of 58 years between the two of them, if I recall correctly. But there was no Acharon in either one of them. The Acharon remained in Kiryas Yearim, where it went to from the Plishtim. And during this time, so we have the tenure, you have the administration of Shmuel, and throughout the entire time when Shmuel is leading Klal Yisrael as a Shofet. So the Acharon is, again, the Acharon in Kiryas Yearim, and then Shaul becomes a king. Shaul doesn't last very long, as if I recall correctly. His whole reign lasted for 2 years.
How much?
2 years.
2 years, that's it?
And then, yeah, it was a very eventful 2 years, but yeah.
Unbelievable.
If I recall correctly, it was 2 years. And then David becomes the king. And at a certain point in time, shortly after David becomes a king, so David establishes Yerushalayim as the capital of Eretz Yisrael. Ir David, Sion, and David decides it's time to bring the Acharon to Ir David, even though the Beis HaMikdash wasn't around. And the Mishkan, by the way, is still in Givon, right? But he decided it's time to bring the Acharon to Yerushalayim, and he makes a whole procession, a whole parade, and he takes and the Acharon is loaded onto a wagon, and it's being transported to Yerushalayim. And on the way, disaster, tragedy. There's 2 Kehanim, and their names are Uzzah and Achyoi, and they're right behind the wagon that's carrying the Acharon. And they notice that the Acharon seems to be slipping off of the wagon. So both of them, they went to push it back, and immediately both of them died. Why did they die? They were trying to do a good thing. So the Gemara explains that they made a fatal mistake. Literally a fatal mistake. And what was that mistake? They should have realized that we know by the Aron was noises noisav, which means even the people who carry the Aron, not only the Aron carried itself, the Aron carried those who carried it. The people who put it on their shoulders, and the Aron would carry them. They would the Aron would transport them. So they should have made a kal v'chomer. Madach, the Aron carries its carriers. For sure, the Aron can carry itself. So why the Aron doesn't need help, and because they were punished. It seemed like obviously it wouldn't have fallen. If it carries its carriers, for sure it can carry itself. Good. So that's why Uzzah and Achyoy were punished. But there's still a question, which is, but why was
It wasn't because they were Tomei and they touched the.
The Aron.
You weren't supposed to touch the.
I don't remember. I don't recall that. I don't recall. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recollect. I didn't look at the Gemara today, but I don't recollect that. Sorry?
Why the Chai Misa B'Tei Shemayim? What's the offense? They didn't make this kal v'chomer. That's you can you die for that.
I think that tells you how holy they were. You know that the holier you are, so the slightest mistake you're held accountable for. Right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu medaktikim tzadikim kechut asayra. Okay, we can look that up. But the larger issue is, the question is, why was David punished? So, Uzzah and Achyoy were punished for whatever, for that reason. But the David HaMelech, why did he deserve to have his parade rained upon?
What? Parade?
His parade, it's a metaphor. To rain on someone's parade, you ever heard that expression?
Never heard in my life.
Never heard it, okay.
Never?
That's why you come here, you learn new things.
Yeah.
It's an expression.
Rain on his-
Rain, when someone makes a parade and it rains, it's
You learn the parade.
yeah. So why was David's parade rained upon? David's excitement in bringing the Aron to Ir David is newly installed. That's
A different mice.
That's when they eventually, when they brought the Aron. So Antaka, what happened was, at that point, the procession stopped exactly where it was. The place where it happened, where the tragedy happened, from then on was called Peretz Uzzah, which means the breach of Uzzah. And for the next 6 months, the Aron, then after 6 months, the Aron stayed in the house of a ger for 6 months, and then it was brought to Yerushalayim. The story of it dancing was the next
Next step.
the next step. Yeah.
Phase,
Yeah. So why did David deserve to be punished and to have his whole procession ruined? So the Gemara tells us that the Eibishter told David HaMelech, you know why? It's because of a pasuk in Tehillim. David, you're right. You said over there, the David compared the Torah to songs. The Eibishter says, David, you're calling my Torah songs? You're making light of my Torah. The Torah regarding which it says, you blink your eye and it's gone. You have to work on it. And you're calling it a song? Chayecha, I swear. Hashem said that you're going to...
And his psalms. It's really, the Tehillim in English is psalms.
Yeah. So Hashem said, I swear to you that you're going to forget something which even Tanaikish little kids know. And what is it? There's a mitzvah. There's one of the licenses in the Torah is Avedas HaKodesh Aleim Bakosif Yiso, which is that the Aron always has to be carried on the shoulders. And here David forgot about that. David is transporting the Aron to Yerushalayim on a wagon.
They should be carrying it with the poles on their shoulders.
Exactly, it has to be carried on the shoulders.
On their shoulders.
So that's why. So because David said that it's Midas Kadosh Lahu, so that's why, and the Eibishter was upset at that. So that's why he forgot this halacha, and that's what happened with the whole story with Uzzah and Achyoy. That's the story in the Gemara.
Which Gemara is this?
I wanted to look it up. I think it's Saita. I think it's but don't what? It's okay. Now this story requires so many. It's not. I'm not going to say I have questions on the story, because then that would imply that the story makes sense, and I have a few questions. Nothing about the story makes sense. But I'll ask a few questions. But all the questions together, and you're like, what's going on over here? Okay, so let's start off. David called the Torah songs. Why? What's the connection and comparison between Torah and songs? Number one. Number two, whatever his reason was, why did the Eibishter object it? For whatever, that's question number two. Question number three, the punishment is a very specific punishment that David HaMelech forgot. The mitzvah of Masa Aron B'Katef. Why is the punishment? What does that have to do with and we always know that in Torah, the crime, the punishment always fits the crime, and everything. It's midah keneged midah. Why is he punished A with forgetting, and B, specifically forgetting what this mitzvah of, what's the connection to the mitzvah of carrying the Aron on the shoulder, and David calling the Torah songs. So that's 4 questions again. Number 1, why did David call it songs? Number 2, why is that a problem? Number 3, why was he punished with forgetting? Number 4, why was he punished for specifically with forgetting the mitzvah of matzah Aron bekatif? And then number 5, the larger question is, let's talk about the mitzvah of matzah Aron bekatif itself. Why did Taka the Aron have to be carried on the shoulders? The other kelim in the Beis HaMikdash didn't have to be necessarily carried on the shoulders. The only keli that there's an isser, you're not allowed to carry it on a agola, is the Aron. What is the reason for this mitzvah of carrying the Aron on the shoulders? So altogether we have 5 questions, but as you guys can see, it's not about the 5 questions. We need to make sense of the story. What's going on here? Why songs? Why is it a problem? Why Matzah and Bekotif? And the whole story. I mean, if you're learning the Gemara B'Pashtus, okay, but someone who's been a little exposed to Chassidus and knows and understands, so every single one of the details over here is precise and exact, understands that there's a lot that we need to figure out. Let's get started on our journey. David's Mireis, you guys see the difference between this already and the previous prakim that we learned, right?
We really call it songs in
Tillim.
In Tillim.
Tillim. Yeah.
Well, the whole Tillim is songs.
But here, David's Mireis Kadosh, so David in Tillim is songs, we know that.
It's all songs.
I understand that, but in Tillim Kuf Yitaz, David says, David refers to the entire Torah, says all of your Torah is songs. David's Midas Kadosh Luchulu, this is the Abish are saying, David, you call the Torah's Midas. And now let's add a little something to this. The Zohar, many times we find that the Torah is referred to as a shvacha. Shvacha de'iraisa uranana. Torah is called a shvach, an arena, a praise, a ode to Hashem, which kind of raises the question. David was, he got it over the head for calling Torah's midas, and here we have the Zohar going and doing it again.
Azinu is also, it's called a song, and that represents the entire Torah. So what's so terrible,
Right?
And Shiva alludes, it's metaphor.
We know there are 9 shiras in the Torah. There's Az Yasher, and there's Hazino, and Ali Ber, and Shir Hashirim, there's the Shir of David, Shir of Dveira, and another few others also. So the Zohar basically explains why is Torah called a song, because a song is like a song of praise. Why is Torah a shvach? Why is it a shira? Why is it a song to Hashem? Why is it a praise to Hashem? You're learning a halacha. You learn aser, hey mutter. You learn this is aser, this is mutter. You're learning a shtickle gemara, a little piece of Shulchan Aruch. Why? How is that a song? How is that a praise to Eibishter? He knows that the Rebbe says, "Who al derech magad lo masecha Hashem bedam k'mashvei sechel." It's a pasuk that says this is a pasuk actually from David HaMelech, right? The David HaMelech in Tillim, he says, "Magadlu masecha Hashem." Turns to Hashem and says, "How great are your maisim? What's the word for maisim? Your
acts.
Your acts. Your products, right? What?
Your deeds.
Your deeds, but deed is a verb. I'm looking for a noun.
That's a noun.
No, deed is not. Deed is a verb.
A deed is a noun.
Oh, okay. Deed. I hear you saying. How deep are your thoughts? Now, if you look at this pasuk in a simple sense, can you ask a question on this pasuk? Look at the pasuk. The 2 clauses in the pasuk. Magadol masecha Hashem. How great are your deeds, Hashem? And how deep are your thoughts? It's backwards.
So it starts with machshavin.
Right? Right?
Machshavin tchilu ma'aseh.
Yeah, first there's the deep machshavas, and then what comes from Hashem's machshavas is his maisim, right? The Rebbe is going to explain, it is known, shekol ha'elamis, al yedim mitachtenim, that all the worlds, the higher worlds, the lower worlds, tluyim bediktuk mitzvah echad, they all hinge on not only one mitzvah, but a detail of a mitzvah. Derech mashal, we have an example. In my carbon kosher, let's say you bring a carbon, and it was kosher, all's good. So nasa yichud alyan, you're causing a yichud in the higher worlds, something which we've talked about many, many different times. The idea of yichudim, that we create how our mitzvahs down here below, they cause unities above. V'elam kala elamis, and that causes all the worlds to ascend, lakabel chayusam v'shifam, to receive their energy and their flow from Hashem. That's if you do the mitzvah correctly. But v'im shina. What if you're off a little? You change something up. For example, shekibel adam b'smei l'derech mashal. For example, instead of being mekabel with the blood, instead of receiving the blood with your right hand, you receive it with your left hand. We know that there are certain specifications for a klisharis, for the utensil, the vessels that were used. It wasn't kosher. There was a chatzitza. There are many different types of chatzitzas. Talks about in Allah, in the Allah Hilchos Carbon. There's a chatzitza between the foot of the kohen, for example, and the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, or if there's a chatzitza between the hand of the kohen and the klei sharis, or if there's a chatzitza between any of the begadim of the kohen and his body. There's not allowed to be anything. Sorry.
Yeah, but
Right. Even by the way, even if the kohen is standing on a tile, and the tile is loose, so that carbon isn't kosher because that's a chatzitza. So then what happens? As I then nismatla aliyas elamis. We cancel the whole ascending of all the worlds. V'chayusam v'shifam v'chayachayim etzev baruch hu. That's it. They don't receive their energy from the source of all life. They ain't safe. The same thing is betfilin ksheira, when a person puts on kosher tefillin. Miskalim, then what happens is revealed meichin al yedim. Dizun. The moichin.
what's a micro? What's that?
Moichin is the chachma bina.
A bean? Oh.
Chachma bina. Moichin, the intellectual faculties of Hashem. The zun, which are present in the midas. Shein makar hachayim b'chol ha'ilmes, which is the source of life for all the worlds. But a bediktu kechad the salam. What if there's a little problem that tefillin chas v'shalom? A letter is cracked or something else, so the tefillin become possible. And then what happens when mistalken ha'meichin? And then there is no the meichin, which don't come down into this world. Stam, just a note over here. He says, when by a carbon, he says, what's the effect of the carbon? That all the worlds go up. He says, by tefillin,
Goes down.
we have the air coming down. So that's the idea. So sometimes you talk about what halah. Halah is the elevation of the worlds. And sometimes you talk about hamshacha, which is drawing down the light. Sorry?
What is Dizun? I see it.
Zun is Zachar and Nekeva. Zachar and Nekeva is the Midas and Malchus. The 6 Midas are called Zachar, and the Nekeva is Malchus.
It gives it explains the Rashi Tevos with another Rashi Tevos. Zion Aleph V'Nukva.
Okay, so that's Za is Zeir Anpin. Zeir Anpin are the 6 Midas,
Zero on him.
and Nukva is Malchus. Yes, yeah. And why is this? Because we know this is something that we've spoken about in the past on many occasions, that the mitzvahs are the pnimiyas haratzon. That's the altar, the pnimiyas. All the worlds are chitzonius haratzon. Everything is chitzonius in this world. It's not what Hashem really wants. So all the mitzvahs are all dependent upon the whole world is dependent upon us doing mitzvahs, because everything is source. The source of everything is the mitzvahs, because that's why the worlds exist. The hilkach, and therefore misbeine in someone who contemplates. Magadlu maaseh Hashem. How great are the works of Hashem? Shabiribi Elamis and all the worlds of Chaltzavam, and everything that the inhabitants of all the worlds. And that's an avodah. It's an avodah to contemplate nature. You know, there was a monthly magazine that came out from Chabad Merkaz, the central Chabad Merkaz, came out for, close to 50 years. There was a Yiddish version and an English version. Maybe some of you remember this. Talks and Tales. Rings a bell? Talks and Tales was a monthly, what? Was a monthly, it was a pamphlet that came out for kids in English. And then in Yiddish there was Schmusen and Jugend. Schmusen mit Jugend. Schmusen mit Jugend. It was very, the Rebbe was held it very, it was very important to the Rebbe's heart. So we know the Rebbe's chief secretary, you might want to say the Rebbe's chief of staff was a Yid whose name was Rabbi Chadakov. The Rebbe had a lot of trust in him. Rabbi Chadakov edited every single one personally, reviewed every one of the Shmuas and Jugend. But because Rabbi Chadakov didn't speak English, so the Rebbe personally reviewed and edited every single one of the English talks and tales. We're talking about until around 1990. Just to give you an idea of how important this was to the Rebbe. And over there you had Sipurei Tzadikim, you had different interesting things about Chazal, and the editor was a Yid whose name was Reb Nissen Mendel. If you ever saw a set of books called The Storyteller with in English, with English stories, all those stories they're taken from Talks and Tales. Also, there's another set which is a great set, 2 books called My Prayer. Anyone saw that? I'll go through all the tefillahs and tells you what the tefillah is about and the history and interesting things. That was originally serialized in Talks and Tales. And
It's in 2 volumes.
yeah, 1 volume is the davening for the weekday, and then volume 2 is tefillah for Shabbos.
Yeah, I have the one for the weekday.
Yeah, so that started off in Talks and Tales. Anyways, in every Talks and Tales, there was a mother. There was one of the sections was called, both in Yiddish and in English, Nature in Wonderland. It was in English and in Yiddish also, like Wunder Naturland or something, that sort. And it would go through a different idea in nature, or talk about a certain phenomenon, a certain type of animal, a certain type of whatever it was. And this was, you look at nature, and looking at nature and being able to extract the incredibleness of the Bashefer, of the Eibishter, it's incredible. The Chachma, the which it takes to, and by the way, the more we learn it, the more we know. And the more science reveals. And you look at a table, so 200 years ago, they thought here you have a piece of wood. Today we understand, this is billions and trillions of particles, atomic and subatomic, and everything's where it's crazy. And by the way, every single atom is like a universe on its own, with its own gravitational pull. It just creation is not. They say, I think a story I've said here before, Reb Shamshon Rafal Hirsch, and in his old age, that he once told his attendants, his kids, the people taking care of him, he wants to go see the Alps. So they took him to the Alps, they schlepped him, they took him on a train, they schlepped him to the Alps. When did he pass away? In the late 1800s? When did he... Sorry? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I think so.
And then, afterwards they asked him, Das felt the race, like that's what you're missing in life, is seeing the Alps. Like we didn't know that you're into the tourism industry. He says, I see that my time is coming near, and I'm going to come up to heaven, and the Eibishter is going to turn to me and say, Shamshon, I created the beautiful Alps. Did you check them out? And I want to be able to say, yeah. I want to tell the Eibishter, yeah, I saw that. But why? Because the Eibush created Alps. You look at the Alps, and it's Meidendik. You go to Niagara Falls, it's Meidendik. And you look at it, we say, Mekayles Mayim Rabim, right? Adirim Mishpriyam, Adar B'Maram Hashem. You look at the Mekayles Mayim Rabim, and you get from there the Adar B'Maram Hashem. And the same thing is looking around creation. The Barab Musach, just sometimes, it's incredible. And then Alter Rebbe says, and then you learn little chassidus. And then you realize it's not only our world. Our world is the lowest level on the chain. And then there are an infinite amount of spiritual worlds. And every single world, there's the Tzavam, there's the Malachim, and everything. And all of this is from the Eibishter. And that's the Magodlu Masach Hashem. Magodlu Masach Hashem. And then you think that all of creation, Ve'ech Kulam B'Teilim B'Mitzias. All of creation is absolutely batal B'Mitzias. So garnished, mit garnished. Lagabi diktuk echad me diktuki Torah, relative to a detail from one mitzvah in the Torah. Shu emek machshav el yena. And what is Torah? Torah is, when we say ma'id amku machshvisecha, how deep Hashem's thought is. What is the emek of Hashem's thoughts? The depths of Hashem's thought. That's Torah. Chachmasa yisbarech. Asher bediktu kal, again, with one small detail of a mitzvah, elam kol elam es v'kabim chayusam v'shifim. All the worlds go up and receive their energy. Elehei pechas Hashem, or the opposite. Umezen is bein in gedulas emek mashafta yisbarach. Now we understand just how great Torah is, just how deep Hashem's machshava is. Shubebchinas believable v'tachlis, the infinity of Hashem's machshava, umalasa le'ein kates v'tachlis, and the level of the Torah is infinitely higher. Al mailos chayis kol ha'elamis, over the energy of all the worlds. Shekol chayusam shefeya mediktuk echad mimana, because all the worlds, where do they receive their energy? From one detail of one mitzvah. Which all comes from the makir of the energy of the worlds, which is the depths of Hashem's machshava, which is Torah. This is an example that we've had before, like the hear of a person. All of the creation is like a hear that emerges from Hashem, from the Torah, from Hashem's chachma. And imagine you have the brain, and then you have a hear, one hear, how much energy is in the hear, relative to the energy that's in the brain. All of creation, not only our world, but all the worlds, all of it is like a hear that comes from the Me'ach, as is known in the Zohar and the Idrei Rabbah. It talks about, it compares all of the energy that comes into this world like a hear. And that's pshat. Magadlu Masacha Hashem. That when I contemplate the greatness of your deeds, the greatness of creation, what does that immediately lead me to understand? Just how great Torah is, because after all the greatness of the world, and all of that is bottle to a diktuk, one detail of one mitzvah. We do a mitzvah right, and all the world, suddenly they receive their energy. We do a mitzvah wrong, we mess up on a detail, and nothing receives the energy. This was the joy of David HaMelech, that he sang and he praised, to be joyful and to gladden his heart during his time of difficulty, during his predicament. So we know that's what the pasuk says. What does David HaMelech say? It says, "Miras heili chukecha beveis megurei." What is beveis megurei? So beveis megurei means in the house where I live, but also the word megurei could also mean my fears, like asher yagurti. So David is saying that when I'm experiencing my fear, my fears, David HaMelech didn't have an easy life. He never had an easy life. He had, starting from his childhood.
What?
Starting from his childhood, right? He was the seventh or the eighth child, and apparently it doesn't seem like he got too much respect from his in his family, and in general, the whole family also they had aspersions were cast upon them in terms of their yichus. And then but then David HaMelech finally he has his 15 minutes of fame, and he goes and he kills Goliath, and you think everything now is going to be amazing, and sure enough, he's promised the king's daughter the king's daughter's hand in marriage, but that doesn't lead to good things. Before he knows it, his father-in-law, the king, is trying to kill him, and he's running away, running around Midbar Yehuda, which is at this point is where David said when the David says Miras Eli Chukecha, was he's busy running around Midbar Yehuda. His life afterwards also wasn't a walk in the park, but here you have David walking. By the way, anyone who's been in Midbar Yehuda, I was there last year around this time. And Midbar Yehuda is I mean, I guess when you live in New York City, when you live in Crown Heights, it doesn't take much to impress you.
Yehuda is the mountain.
It's glorious, yeah. You go driving through Midbar Yehuda, like I mean last year, I drove down from Yerushalayim to the Yam HaMelech and to Metzada. It's like the mountains, the beauty, it's just the vastness. You get a little appreciation for the vastness of creation. You get a what?
You drove yourself down to the Yam HaMelech?
No, with my family.
No, but I mean that's a very scary drive.
No, it's not.
Going down that.
It's not. Oh, you're saying because of the slope?
It's a very sharp slope.
All the ways between in the valley.
I mean,
Well,
when I went by bus.
Here. No, what was scary was interesting. On the way back, it rained a little. And by the way, in the desert, it barely rains. I'm talking about it rained a few minutes. But when it does rain, even for a few minutes, what?
Just let it come down.
Flooded.
So I'm driving in the street, and there's a stream of water crossing the street. Like water is rushing across the street. And so I stop the car, and I'm looking, and I see a few cars. Boom, they go through, like they go through it. It's not a. It was scary, but I'm like, if everyone's doing it, I'll do it also. Said a capital to them, pressed on the gas, and Baruch Hashem, I'm here to tell the story. But that was, and by the way, the vastness of you understand why the Maccabees were able to hide from the Greeks. Just the
Let the mountains in.
Yeah, it's just,
Maybe no.
yeah. It's a huge area. And David HaMelech is busy running around, but he's busy being chased by his father-in-law Shaul. And David says, yes, I have my fears, and my life isn't difficult. It isn't easy. My life is difficult. So you know what I do? I sit down with the Gemara. I sit down with a Sefer. I sit down with whatever it may be. I don't know what was David learning. Maybe look at the Sichos, whatever else he was learning. And David says, and you know, this is like a song. Why? Because what do I think? I'm sitting learning Torah and I'm thinking of all the pressures of this world. But you know what? The whole world is bottled to this Torah that I'm learning right now. All this, the whole world receives this energy from one diktuk of one of the things that I'm learning right now. And I'm going to concern myself about the world. I'm going to be scared of what's going on. I'm sitting and learning Torah. The world's my oyster, right? What can be better than sitting down and learning a Torah? And that was what David did in order to gladden himself during his difficult times. So with this, we've answered the first question that we started off today. We asked, why did David call Torah? Why did David call Torah Zmiris? What? Called this Zmiris because this was his pleasure. The Alter Rebbe's grandson, Rabbi Nachum Mendel, the Tzemach Tzedek, so he wrote a sefer called Derech Mitzvisacha. He actually wrote it before he became a Rebbe. And it's a sefer hamitzvahs based on Chassidus. He takes maybe 60 or 70 of the mitzvahs, and he explains it's a beautiful sefer. It's a sefer which is it's written more or less for a beginner in Chassidus and explains these mitzvahs according to Kabbalah, uses the language of the Kabbalah, and then explains it according to Chassidus. And one of the mitzvahs but it's all based on the teachings of the Alter Rebbe. And one of the mitzvahs that he talks about is this mitzvah, the mitzvah of Masa Aron Bekatev. So the ideas that the Alter Rebbe talks about in this chapter, he expands upon greatly in his in this sefer Derech Mitzvisacha. And there the Tzemach Tzedek says something interesting over there. And we're going to it's going to be important, we'll return to this Mitzvah Hashem later on in this letter. He says, what is the uniqueness of a song? So you have a song, and there are words to the song. So you think that the content of the song, the substance and the significance of the song is the message of the words. But a song is much more than the words. Proof being, how many times can you say the same words over and over before you get bored? But a song, we all know, right? It gets stuck in your head, and you can sing it again and again. And if you really enjoy a song, again and again and again and again, there's this pleasure in singing a song, even though it's the same thing, same words, the same tnua. You know, by Faber-Engens, so we sing the Gunna by Faber-Engens. So one of my pet peeves is like that you'll be a Faber-Engen and someone start a song and someone say, well, we already sang that song. We sang that song. I'm like, okay. And therefore, you know, if singing songs by Faber-Engen is like is a concert, so then by concert you don't sing the same song again because the customers paid to want to hear a variety of songs. But if singing a song is an expression of your pleasure and you can sing the same song 10 times by Faber-Engen. You don't have to sing. It's not about and it's not also about demonstrating how many Chassidish Nigunim you know. It's about song. There was Chassidim who daven with the same songs every single day. Every single day, they had their songs. In fact, there are many songs that are called by the names of Chassidim, and not because they composed the songs, but because that was the song that was identified with them, because you knew that when you said this chassid sat down by Faber-Engen, and this is the song they sang, because that's the song that they connected with. And when you connect with a song, again, and that's what David, Tzemach Tzedek explains that that's why David HaMelech called the Torah Zmiris. He's like, I'm learning Torah, another Daf Gemara, another Siman Shulchan Aruch, another Siman Shulchan Aruch, another Medrash, another whatever. And it's like a song. I never get tired of it. I never get bored of it. The beauty of Torah.
No melody, though.
What?
Even though there's no melody
See, that
associated.
he's using the song as a mashal, just like a song you never get tired of because it has a melody. David's saying, Torah I never get tired of. Why? Because whenever David learns Torah, he's thinking about what he says over here, thinking about this idea of Marabo Masacha Hashem, Midamku Mashvei Secha, this idea that all of the worlds, everything is all bottled to one diktuk, one detail on Torah, and therefore he's like, David, how can I not enjoy Torah? It's the biggest pleasure that there is, sitting and learning Torah. I look around the world and realize everything I see, it's garnished, nothing compared to the Torah that I'm learning. So that's why David did it. That's good, yeah?
Also, the song also affects the emotions of a person. If you just say the words, it's very dry. But
No, so what does he say over here? He says over here, that's why he says, he says, Simchas David HaMelech Alav Shalom. There's joy. Joy is an emotion. No, but this only reinforces our second question. Remember, we started off with a few questions. The first question was, why did David call Torah a song? The second question was, and what's the wrong with it? Why did the Eibishter take umbrage over the fact that David HaMelech called Torah songs? And now that we understand the real reason why David HaMelech called the Torah midas, so now our question is even stronger. L'chayra, that's beautiful.
why Kodesh Baruch Hu didn't like it?
I want to point out something else. If it was so heretical that he called the Torah songs, why is it in Tehillim? Why are we saying it till today? Till today, we say Zmiris Heili Chukacha, right? Obviously, David HaMelech had a powerful point, and nevertheless, the Eibishter still, for some reason, the Eibishter was upset.
We don't have the melodies to Tehillim.
We
don't have it.
You're missing the point.
I understand.
We're not talking about the melody. We're comparing it to the melody. Just like a melody gives you pleasure, Torah gave him
But
pleasure.
I'm saying it just Agav, that we don't. I was wondering how all those psukim in Tehillim, how would it sound like? What was we lost the melody of
Right.
all those things.
The Alter Rebbe knew the melodies. There's a trumpet.
David Melch's original.
There's a trumpet in Tehillim. You have to assume that the trumpet is the melody.
What?
There's a trumpet in Tehillim. The trumpet in Tehillim is different.
I never saw it.
Torah.
Sure is. What? No, it's not Haftarah trumpet.
Torah has special drop.
I know, but Tehillim is a totally different.
Where's the
different.
trumpet? I never saw a trumpet in Tehillim.
Open up a Tehillim, you'll see it.
Well, what is the trumpet? It's like a pintle, like.
Yeah, but it's a different trumpet than anything else. I think Eiv has the same trumpet as Tehillim. Maybe like Mishli or something. I'm not sure. There are a few Sfarim that have that trumpet, and the Alter Rebbe had the Messiah what the trumpet was. He actually taught it to his great grandson, Rabbi Shalom, but that Messiah got lost. But the Alter Rebbe actually had the Messiah of the trumpet of Tehillim.
We don't have the Messiah.
No, I definitely don't have that Messiah.
No, makes a big difference. The song, a melody to it.
Yeah, but that's not.
Affects your emotions.
I understand, but that's not what we're talking about.
I understand. I'm saying it's Agav. I'm saying.
However, 11 lines in the bottom. However, Masha Mishtabeach. Betilas HaTorah, the fact that David HaMelech was Mishtabeach, he was feeling all good. And he was thinking about the praise of Torah, b'malas azu. With this Maila v'amar, and he said, Zmiris ha'ilichu, and David HaMelech called it Torah Zmiris. Then Nashal say he was punished for this. V'amar le'akadosh baruch hu, and the Eibishter told him, Zmiris kadosh lu. You have the audacity to refer to my Torah as Midas, and why is that? Mishum shebe'emes, because in truth, malas azu, this mile the Torah has. Shekol ilmus b'teilim l'gabi diktu gach men that all the words are bottled to even one detail of Torah. That is only from. Yes, we said that Torah is take the amkomach shvisecha. Torah is the emek hamachshava of the Eibishter. But the fact that all the worlds receive their energy from Torah, that is the achurayim of Torah. As we explained elsewhere, the name of the Rizal, we had this recently. The Chazal tell us that the Torah that we have over here is the Neivlis of Chachma Shalom Aylav, the Eibishter's Torah. Neivlis are the fruits that fall off from the tree before the fruits become ripe. Those are called Neivlis. The word Neivlis literally means those that fall fall off. Achurayim is the backside.
So what does it bring out?
We're getting there. The Arizal talks about this a lot. For example, the Arizal tells us why is it that the Torah begins with a Beis, not a Aleph, Bereishis bara Elokim, not a Nechi Hashem Elokecha? Because the Torah we have is the second Torah, it's not the first Torah. The first Torah the Eibishter has. And the Arizal also says, that's why we say in davening, Al Teirascha, Shalim Adatanu. There's Teirascha, there's the Eibishter's Torah, and then there's the Shalim Adatanu, then there's the Torah which the Eibishter taught us. And it's a different Torah. The Torah that we have is the Chetzonius of Torah, it's not the Pnimius. The Pnimius of Torah, the Pnimius, the inner dimension of Torah, which is the deepest level of Torah, Shupnimius HaTorah, Him Yuchedas, Lagamri, Be'erin, Seif Baruch Ham Lubish Ba, B'tachlas hayichud, is completely one with the Ein Sof, which is within it. With the Gabi Ein Sof Baruch Hu, and relative to the infinity of the Ein Sof, Kol ha'elam is kalei mamish. All the worlds are nothing, literally. V'ayin v'efes mamish, absolutely garnished. Because the Eibishter, before the world is created, after the world is created, is the same. Something we, again, as we approach here, the fourth to last Siman and Tanya, we're going to say a lot of times, something we've talked about in the past. Because we're getting there, we're getting to the end of Tanya. But something that we've talked about in the past is that, creation emerges from Hashem. But is Hashem defined by creation? Is Hashem changed by creation? We say, Ani Hashem li shanisi. Hashem said, I never changed. And we say, Atu atzalei nivra elam. You are the one who, before the world was created, Atu, and you're the exact same one. Mishnivra elam, after the world was created, nothing changed. Because all the worlds are ka'ayin ve'efes. All of creation is nothing. The Alter Rebbe writes in a Maimer, in Teira. He says, we think of the Eibishter, we think of the Eibishter as the creator. He says, that's not the Eibishter. But of course creation comes from the Eibishter. But you're going to say, that's the inyan of the Eibishter that he creates. To put it in different words, if the Eibishter had to fill out a job resume, creating the world wouldn't even be on there. It's barely a hobby. It doesn't, because the world, the Eibishter is beyond creation. The whole world is nothing. The pnimius of Torah, the highest level of Torah, the pnimius of Torah, that level of Torah which is miyuchad with Hashem, because it's miyuchad with Hashem, the worlds also are nothing to it. So therefore, to praise Torah and say, wow, the greatness of Torah is that it is the source of all the worlds, is a degradation. It's actually an embarrassment. So imagine walking over to a millionaire and say, wow, I heard you have a nickel in your pocket. That's the Zelman Akud, that's the same thing. But it's even less because to a millionaire, as we discussed many times, a nickel is something.
How come?
How come?
He worships
That's
his money.
the reason why they're a millionaire.
He worships his money. That's why
That's why he's a millionaire. But it's more than that. If he gave you a nickel, would he become a poor person?
No.
How about 2 nickels?
No.
10 nickels?
No.
1 million nickels?
No.
10 million nickels?
No.
What do you mean no? The point is that his money is made up of nickels. You can't say nickels is nothing to him because his money is made up of nickels. So a nickel is quite insignificant, but it's not ultimately insignificant. At the end of the day, what is it? If you looked in his bank, what is it? It's a bunch of nickels. So of course nickels are important to him. The Eibishter is bleakful. The world is ayin efes mamish. It's taki garnished. So it's not like what?
Finite as opposed to infinite.
We've given this mashal many times.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had an infinite amount of money. Then taka, a nickel is garnished. If every morning you woke up and your bank account said infinity, then what's a nickel? A nickel's taka garnished. And by the way, not only a nickel is nothing. $100 is nothing. $1 million is nothing. $1 billion is also nothing. Why? Because you have infinity. And that's the permanent status of your account. The Eibishter is infinite. So going and David. So that's what. And let's continue inside. The Hilkach. Last words on the page. Hilkach, and therefore Gam the Pnimiyas HaTorah. Also, we're talking about the Pnimiyas HaTorah, this higher level, higher dimension of Torah. Ein l'shabcha klal b'tehilas chayis kol ha'ilmus. It makes no sense to praise this level of Torah by saying that it is the source of life for all the worlds. Ma'achar, because all the worlds are literally nothing compared to it. And regarding the Pnimiyus of Torah, that has nothing to do with the human being and the person's pleasure and enjoyment, because the human being has no relationship to it. Ella kaviyachol, rather, Pnimiyus of Torah is simchas leiv shashua melech hakadosh baruch hu, is what the Eibishter takes pleasure in, the Eibishter enjoys. Shemishtashei ba. In Yiddish, they say erzatzkit sich mit them. It's a hard word. In the literal translation of that in English would be he toys with it, but that toys has a bad connotation. Toys is like he So imagine someone had, I don't know, a person had a valuable collection of manuscripts or something. And when he's taking and he's,
Diamonds.
what?
Expensive diamond.
So us?
Expensive diamond.
Expensive diamonds, a diamond collection. And imagine the person is opening up the boxes and looking at them. That's what it means. They're receiving. That's the Eibishter, the Torah. That's the Eibishter relationship with the higher level of Torah. Ki Elikim Haven Darka. There's a series of psukim in Mishlei where it talks about Torah, where it says Elikim Haven Darka. The Eibishter understands its way. V'yada Mekayma Malasa, and the Eibishter knows its place. The Eibishter knows its level. B'yedias Asmik Haviyachol, through self-knowledge. Avol Ba, as the pasuk says, Nel Mameni Kol Chai. This level of Torah is hidden from the eyes of all those who live. As the pasuk says, that even Moshe Rabbeinu, the Eibishter told him, my pnimis you can't see. Dahainu, what is that? Bechinas pnimiyusa, the pnimis of Torah. Explained the name of that Rizal. And this is what the pasuk says. Again, this all these psukim in Mishlei. This is Torah speaking in first person. Torah says, I am by him, by the Eibishter, I am the Eibishter Shashwim, the Eibishter's pleasure. Etzlei Davka. Misachek is the fun of Torah says, I play for him. The fun of Davka. And the Hainu bebechilis pnimiyusa. This is the level of pnimiyus. Vazeh Amar, and regarding this, the pasuk says, Ve'eye etzlei amoin. Torah says, I am by him amoin. Amoin is a treasure. And Chazal tell us, Al tikri amoin ela uman chulu. Don't read amoin el uman. This is the craftsman.
What's that? Among?
Amoin is a treasure. But what does it mean? It's a uman l'chera. It's a stira, because Uma means the craftsman with which the Hashem creates the worlds. But here we're talking about the Pnimius of Torah. The Pnimius of Torah, didn't we just say, is already is higher than creation. It's only the Chetzonius of Torah which is involved in the creation. I saw a Maimon, if I remember correctly, a Maimon from the Marash, where he explains this, and he says that what is a craftsman? When you hire a craftsman to build your house for you. So in order for a craftsman to be a craftsman, it has to have two skills. He has to have two skills. Number one, he needs to know how to build. But that's not enough. He also needs to be able to relate to you, to your needs and your desires, and fully understand your vision, and then he can take that and implement. So he has to have these two things. He has to be able to connect to you and have the skill. Torah is called the Uman of Hashem, the craftsman, because Torah also has these two aspects. The one aspect is the part which is close to Hashem, and this is understands Hashem's vision, and that's the Pnimius of Torah. And the Chetzonius of Torah is the part of Torah which actually goes and creates the worlds. And regarding the Acharon, the external level of Torah, Amar Misachekes B'Tevel Artzei, regarding this, it says that this is what plays out in our world. V'shashues B'nei Adam, and it is the pleasure of the human beings. Because Torah was given panim v'acher. Torah has both a pnimius and a chetzenius. K'diksiv b'Megillah Afad Zechariah. In the flying Megillah of Zechariah, in Sefer Zechariah, it talks about a vision he had, and there was a scroll that was flying, and the pasuk says about the scroll, "V'hi ksuva panim v'acher," that this scroll was written on both sides. And why? Because that scroll represents the Torah, and the Torah also has a panim and an acher. It's written on both sides. So therefore, the scroll that Zechariah saw also was written on both sides. Okay. So let's recap where we are. We started off with 5 questions. Of the 5 questions, we've answered 2 of them. The first question was, why did David call Torah Midas? That we know the answer to that. Because David was so blown away by this idea that Torah is the mucker of all the worlds, and that was able to gladden his heart during his times of difficulty. The second question we had was, why was the Eibishter upset? And that we know. The Eibishter says, David, I expect more of you. You're praising the Torah by the fact that all the worlds are bottled to it. That's the Chetzonius of Torah. Of all people, David, you should have been able to appreciate the Pnimius of Torah.
Yeah, but it's not shaykh to understand Pnimius of Torah. that's built.
That's a very good question. And we'll answer that Mitzvah next
It's just
week.
a human being.
You're asking a very reasonable question. We're saying whether even Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't able to punish Leiro. So David was speaking about his experience. Why is he punished? We'll have to talk about that next week. And then there's another 3 questions also that we have. And again, we still don't understand why was he punished with forgetting, and why forgetting Dafka about the Aron, the mitzvah of carrying the Aron on the shoulders, and Bechal, why were the Aron carried on the shoulders, and how does that connect to all of this? And those 3 questions, and also why David HaMelech was punished for not appreciating a level in Torah which l'chayra was above his level. All of these will Mitzvah do next week, and we'll finish this Perek Mitzvah next week.